Hey, welcome everybody. It is Monday night, August 8th, and we are doing our Healy Overview webinar for all of you. This is the Healy Company, is this great little device here. If this is brand new to you, this might not look like much, but you're going to learn tonight that this is amazing. We're dealing with what's called frequency medicine or resonant frequencies. I mean, there's a lot of ways that people talk about it, but I want to just point out a couple quotes and give you an idea of what this does. So first of all, the concept of resonant frequencies works like this. If you have if you have in your body, every cell is a little power plant. So there's a cellular voltage on every cell wall. And the liver cell and a skin cell and a hair cell and a heart cell, they all have a different ideal resonant frequency that energy is vibrating at, because everything is vibration and energy in the universe. And so when you can add energy at a specific frequency, you are able to cause a physical effect with that. You actually have, the studies have shown that you get an increase in the ATP production, which is the power in the cell, the energy of the cell. You get better protein synthesis, and you get better amino acid transport. There's all sorts of things happening at the cellular level. And then we found that this also works with brain waves, thoughts, emotions. You can affect all of that with frequencies. So whether it's physical health, mental health, or emotional health, we have an answer with the Healy here. So a couple of really cool quotes are, you're probably familiar with Nikola Tesla, and he said way back, 100 years ago or more, that if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So in quantum physics, they've known this all along, that this is how everything works, and everything works together. And then Albert Einstein, also about the same time period, said that the future of medicine will be the medicine of frequencies. And maybe you've heard rumors of things like med beds and these different techniques that people use that remind me, honestly, of Star Trek: The Next Generation in their medical bay, right? They go and they lay down, they have that tricorder and they run it over them, and then they can do things right there just with frequency and energy. So maybe we're headed that way eventually, but for now we have this amazing little Healy. So I'm going to pass this over to Ray Jatan, my good friend. And Ray, if you could tell your story and then also just give them a little background of Healy, the company, and its parent company and so on. We'd love to hear about that and then move forward.
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. Glad you're here with us tonight. Like David said, my name is Ray Jatan. I'm actually located in the center of Missouri, in the Columbia area. And I'm what I consider a recovering heating air conditioning contractor. Recently retired from that business because of the Healy. It's been amazing on how many lives that we've seen changed with this, and how it's occupying my time now. So much more fun than what I've done most of my life. But we actually found out about the Healy because of a friend of mine. My son had a major growth spurt. He's 17 now, senior in high school, strapping, handsome young guy. And at 15 years old, though, just a couple of years ago, he had a major growth spurt. He grew about 6 inches in 8 months, so fast that he has stretch marks on his back. And my wife almost accused me of beating him. I was like, no, I haven't touched him. But he was definitely having a problem walking. And it looked like, just to watch him walk, looked like he was walking on Legos. And that's the way he described it. And he was trying to play soccer for high school. And the poor kid just couldn't walk, let alone run. So we were in the process of heading out to vacation, and we picked up my best friends to go with us. And when they saw him get out of the truck, they said, hey, we just bought this cool little device. It's out of Germany. It's called the Healy. And it's cleared by the FDA for chronic and acute pain, arthritis, and muscle soreness, among those things. But in the other countries, it's cleared also for fibromyalgia, depression, and anxiety. We just can't tell you that here in the US as far as an official statement. But they told me that it was a scanning device as well, and that it could scan your body looking for low frequencies, meaning out of balance, out of tune, unhealthy. So they suggested that we connect him up with the Healy and see what it could do for the pain that he was experiencing. And they ran a 20-minute pain program on him, and 2 hours later, the kid's walking normal. And so my wife says, I got to have one of those. So we had one ordered before we ever got back to Missouri. And boy, I'm glad we did. We've had so much fun with this thing. When it came in the mail, I'm a mess myself because I've had diabetes since I was 16 years old. And, there's a lot of things that occur because of that disease that I've dealt with all my life. And so all these things that I've dealt with for so many years, I'm scanning, and the Healy is pulling all this stuff up and giving me, I don't want to say solutions, but giving me programs that I could run to help address those issues. And just occupying a lot of time with that, enjoying what it was pulling up and seeing, because I resonated with everything that it pulled up in the scan. And I was thinking, how in the world does it do that? So I'm not a science geek. I just know that this thing works. And oddly enough, my wife comes home one day, and she had an issue that day. I don't even remember what it was, but she fixed problems. So I said, why don't you run a scan and do a program? And she looked at me and she said, how do you expect me to do that? You're the darn Healy hog. Because I had it all the time. So I said, I understand. I guess I'll be buying you your own, because I didn't want to give mine up, right? So I found out from one of the leaders that is kind of in between David and I how to do that, because my friends were just customers. And he said, Ray, if you're going to buy another Healy, then you need to sign up your wife as a member. That way she's got an incentive. She can actually earn a free device. And I was all about the free stuff. We didn't care about the business opportunity of any sort with this at the time. We just wanted to feel better. So as I investigated more into this and found out what was really behind this, I found out that there was another company, a parent company, mother company, if you will, called Time Waver, who is the creator of the Healy. They are the manufacturer. The owner of the Healy owns the company called Time Waver, and Time Waver makes these larger devices that actually sit on a practitioner's desk and plug into their computer. And then they have these brass probes that you have to hold on to so that they can read your frequency in your body. And then you have to be specially trained to decipher that information. I actually had experience with that about 5 or 6 years ago with a practitioner that owned a device that was similar to the Time Waver device. And she could see that I had type 1 diabetes, and that I had a low thyroid, and that I had E. coli and bacteria in my system, and that I dealt with depression and anxiety, probably like a lot of business owners. But when I went to look into purchasing a device like what she had, it was up around $40,000 plus the training that I would have to fly it to Germany, and licensing fees and everything else to get into a product like that. Well, as I dug deeper and realized, I couldn't afford that. Fast forward 3 years, that's when I found out about the Healy. And the Healy was actually created for the practitioner as an extension to their care, because it would take so much time for a client to come in, and time and effort and specialized training to be able to perform the scans and decipher the information that come across that screen for the practitioner. So by creating a device like the Healy, it allowed the practitioner to send a device home with their clients or to sell the device to them so that they could monitor their own health and then check in with the practitioner every so often. So they launched this to the practitioners in 2017. So it's been a little while. Healy's been around since then, or TimeWaver's been around since 2007. So 2017, they launched this to the practitioner. By 2019, they realized that the practitioners weren't really great at selling. So, and all the money and time that they'd invested in the development of this product, they figured, let's try another way to get this out into the market, because they wanted to see this in the hands of millions of people to make a difference in millions of lives. So 2019, they rolled this more into the social selling arena, where it gave people like me and you the ability to share it with the people that we loved and our friends. And we also share it with the practitioners here in the US. So the first year in the social selling arena in 2019, it was to the other world markets, and they did $7 million worth of sales. The second year they entered into the US market, and they did that in May of 2020. So not even a full year, just halfway through the year. And by the end of 2020, they had done over $100 million worth of business. So needless to say, there were some manufacturing distribution issues at that time. So people weren't getting their devices for 5 to 12 weeks. Customer service was not very easily accessible because it was in Germany. You'll be happy to know that all of those distribution manufacturing issues have been taken care of now. The US market is the only market outside of Germany that has its own dedicated customer service and a home office here in the US, in the Orlando area. 2 distribution centers to get product to where it needs to go, whether you're on the one coast or the other, or right here in the Midwest where we are. So they have all those issues because of the growth that we experienced so fast. Those issues are all handled, and we're moving fast with getting these in the hands of people that need them. So it's been exciting. There's a lot of growth still yet to happen, and we love helping people. It's been life-changing, not only for us, but for thousands of other people that we've been blessed to be associated with. So we also have a guest on here tonight with us, Cheryl Meyer, and I'm excited that you're on here with us, Cheryl. Cheryl is a naturopathic practitioner, and so she's actually licensed to be able to use the Healy as a practitioner with what she does in helping people heal. So Cheryl, we're glad to have you on with us tonight. Thank you for being here. Would you introduce us to you and help us understand how you're using the Healy in your practice and what you love so much about this?
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Cheryl Meyer, and I live in Florida, and in the Orlando area, actually, but out on the East Coast. And I trained as a naturopath in the UK, and I also do body work as well. I do craniosacral therapist. I do Bowen technique. I have a tool for acupuncture. I'm not an acupuncturist, but I have a microcurrent tool which I can do stimulate acupuncture points with. And I learned about the Healy. I've always been interested in frequency machines and was really interested in getting a Rife machine because Rife is really good with Lyme and other viruses. And one of my clients, who's a client, colleague, friend, was in my practice, and one day, and she got all excited, and she said, "I found this really great machine. It's called the Healy, and it's a frequency machine." And you know, she described it, and I said, "Right, I want one." And so I, you know, again, sight unseen, hadn't seen it, didn't know anything about it, but I got excited because it's working with frequency, and I was really excited about the coil, because with the Rife machine, it's big into the coil. So I was excited about that. I was excited about the fact that it read our frequencies as well. So I got my Healy, and as soon as I got it, a friend, colleague, other practitioner was over at my house, and I was showing it to her, and she got excited about it and bought one as well, and so on. And this kept on occurring with my colleagues, which was pretty exciting. But in my practice, I combine body work and nutrition, and I often will scan. I'll use the scan facility on the Healy, and I don't necessarily always use what the scan's telling me, but it gives me an idea of where to go with the client. So it's pretty exciting. But often I do. So typically what I'll do these days now, since I've got the Healy, is I'll do my body work, and while they're on the table and I'm working on them, I'll run the Healy. And sometimes I'll use it with the coil. Other times I'll just use it with the wristbands. And I might be talking over everybody's head because I know this is a very beginner. You're not familiar with the Healy yet, but it delivers its frequencies via microcurrent, which is a stronger way of delivering the frequencies, or via coil, the Tesla coil, which is a bit gentler, or you can do it via vibration. And so you're able to treat people when they're not actually in your presence through the vibration. And I do that a lot. I do it with my pets, and with loads of my clients. But yeah, I'm really excited about it, and I did not think about it in terms of a business opportunity at all, and it just sprang into it, from showing colleagues and then using it with my clients, and many of my clients have wanted to buy them. So yeah, it's really, I love it, absolutely love it. Brilliant machine.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. So Ray, should I go into my portion, or do we want to have Pam share a quick testimonial?
I've reached out to Pam, and she is willing to do that. So
yeah, let me find her here in the users, and we'll have her share. How did you find her? Let's see.
Pamela.
Oh, it's under Pamela. Let me find her. Pamela, there you are. Okay, it's going to say allow to talk. So Pam, you should be able to unmute and just share your story about Healy that you were telling me today.
Okay, 6 months ago, I had a problem with my thyroid, and I went in and had an ultrasound done, and I have 2 large nodules on the left side of my thyroid, and they did a biopsy on them, which was they couldn't get a good result on it, and they wanted to do another one on me, and I said no way, because they didn't numb me to do the thing. And so he told me I would have to have an ultrasound every 6 months then, and he said if it grows at all, that I would have to have my thyroid removed. And I had my first, it's been 6 months, and I had my first ultrasound this morning, and I got my results back, and the endocrinologist texted me, and he says, I have some really good news for you. And he said, not only have they stabilized, but they have shrunk some. And so I texted David, because I have been using the thyroid programs and running on my thyroid just for the last couple of weeks. And so they told me medically that this is impossible. The only way to get rid of these nodules is to have your thyroid removed. So for them to have shrunk, I have to contribute it to the Healy. So I'm just really grateful.
That is amazing. Yeah, I thought that was such a great story when you texted me. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead now and share how the Healy works, give you an actual demonstration of this. And Ray will be monitoring the chat. So if you guys have any questions, he'll probably be answering a lot of them here in a second. I can tell you I have a little bit of a cough, so I'll try to get my voice nice and steady. But Ray, yes, if you'll just watch the chat and answer any questions, but we will probably answer most things as we go. So first of all, this is the Healy right here. And Cheryl did a great way of explaining how we can do microcurrent, or the coil, or vibrational frequencies. So there's really 3 different ways that we can do frequencies. You may have heard of a Varieth machine, which was around in the 1930s, I believe, is when that was invented. And that was similar to a time where you'd hold on to the brass or copper rods, and it would send the frequencies through your body as a very, very mild electrical current, but at specific frequencies to have a specific result. So we can do that with the Healy right here with these wires plugged in. And in this case, I have it going to my wrist on these electrodes right here. And then the frequencies are able to flow through the cells and the water in my body. I'm gonna move. I'm just going to, I can't remember how to move Pamela back into the participants. So you'll just stay there, but I have you muted, Pamela. Okay. So that's one way we can do this with the wires. We can also take the wires out and we can put in what's called the coil. This is a Tesla coil. Nikola Tesla, remember, did experiments with, he had what's called a Tesla coil. He could transmit energy across space. And that was what this does. So there's actually two coils in here. You can see the one right there on the, hopefully you can see that coil of wire, thin wire. There's a second one down below, and they create something called a 0-point field, and it'll just plug in right to the Healy, right on the back of the Healy. And now you have a wireless Healy. You can just clip it onto your shirt or put it in your pocket, and you can run frequencies without having the wires. Well, why wouldn't you just always do it this way, right? Because that seems a lot more convenient. Well, they're different. This is going through the cells in your body, through the water in your body. This is more about balancing the energy in your bioenergetic field, the EMF field that's around everybody's body. So these quantum physicists call it the information field because we can read that information and see which frequencies are out of balance. So the coil lets you do that. So Healy would say do 3 or maybe 4 applications a day at the most using the wires, and to put several hours of space in between because your body has to do something with all that energy and frequency you're putting in there, and your body will react and the cells will do their thing. So, but in between, you can run with the coil all you want. It's much more subtle. You can run them back to back to back all day long. I'll go out riding my bike or something, and I'll put it on the program for strength or performance or stamina. We have different fitness programs. And then as soon as I'm done, I'll put it on regeneration to help my muscles, not get sore and so on. So I do that with the coil because I don't want these wires hanging off me while I'm on a mountain bike, right? So that's second way. There is a third way called radionics that we're going to do in just a minute, and I'll show that to you. So I'm going to plug these wires back in because I want to demonstrate how we run programs with the Healy. All right, so I'm going to share my phone screen because we do control our Healy from a smartphone or a tablet, and it can be Android or Apple. Let me share. Oh, I gotta grab my phone. My phone. Okay, sorry, I left my phone in the other room. So go here, share, Zoom. Okay. So now you're seeing my phone. I have different apps that we can use with the Healy. This is the main Healy app. Call it the pink dot app because it has a little pink dot on the icon. You'll see there's all these different types of programs. For instance, there's different program pages or groups. This one's called the Gold Cycle program set. It has 7 programs right here. They were all developed by one of these time waver practitioners, a guy out of Portugal. So these are a little more generalized. Pure is about detoxing the body, release is about pain in the body, and so on. Let me just give you an example. If I were to run a program, I would hit Pure. It tells me this is going to be about a 52-minute program and to use the electrodes on my wrist, or it says here I can use the coil, and I've hit start. So now it's actually transmitting the frequency sets that are used for Pure or detoxing the body from your phone, from the app, over to the Healy by Bluetooth. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's a blinking blue light that shows that the data is being transferred over. And there are probably hundreds of different frequencies that these time waver therapists have discovered work for this particular program of Pure. And so it's sending them all over here. But what's cool is that if you and I were to run the same program at the same time, it would actually select different frequencies for each of us, because the quantum sensor inside the Healy is scanning my bioenergetic field as it's running the program to determine which frequencies I need the most. So you can see right now it's doing 666.7 hertz. After 10 seconds, it switched to 320.9 hertz. And you're going to see that switch again in about another 4 seconds. But this red dot is going to go around this circle for about 52 minutes. And this is showing the intensity. I could bump that up a little. We really just want to see that this line behind the red dot is white, which it is right now, even at just a 15% intensity. But as I move it up, even here about 35%, I can actually feel a little bit of a tingling in my hands because of the electrodes on my wrists. And now it's 94 hertz and so on. So I would just let this go for 52 minutes, but look at what's happening. See, this is creating a electrical circuit between the two electrodes, and my body is part of that circuit. So the frequencies have to be able to flow between the two electrodes on my two wrists. If I unplug one of these, this line here goes black. So I have interrupted that circuit. So that's proving or showing that my body is part of the circuit, and these frequencies are flowing. Where does electricity like to go? It goes to water, right? So it's flowing through all the water and the cells in my body right now. So I'm going to stop that. And then just show you the really, really cool sets of different frequency programs we can do. Besides Gold Cycle, we have pain and stimulation programs. So these are the two that are actually FDA cleared. And but then we have all these other ones, which we have to use Roman numerals because the FDA doesn't want us to pretend like we think that these work, but they do. They do. They work for tooth and jaw pain. They work for joint pain. They work for migraine pain. They work for insomnia and depression and anxiety. These are all the different types of pain programs we have. We have learning programs. We have fitness programs. I was telling you I use a lot when I go out and ride my mountain bike. We have job and sleep programs. If I'm going to be sitting at my desk working for a long time, I'll run this one called activation. Or if you're just overwhelmed with work, to do these ones for fatigue or exhaustion. We have sleep programs here, mental balance, beauty and skin. My wife had some amazing results even with this SCARS local, where you would put a different type of electrodes. Instead of these wrist electrodes, you would have adhesive ones. They're kind of like you'd see in a TENS unit. And these would snap onto the adhesive ones. You put it on an area of the body, put it on either side of a scar, and it actually does reduce scarring. Very, very cool. For me, when I first got my Healy, we're going to be showing you in a minute how we do scans, but I would do these scan results and it would tell me I need to run this program called Nerves in Bioenergetic Harmony 1. See all the different types of programs. It also tell me I need to run this one in the second set for Bioenergetic Harmony called Sciatica Local. And two issues I had been having, as for the Nerves one was specifically about some numbness in my right pointer finger. It was from a pinched nerve I had in my shoulder blade area, and a chiropractor had gotten that all straightened out, but I had this ongoing numbness in my hand and thumb and sometimes a little bit in my elbow. It was stemming from that old pinched nerve. Read online, it could be permanent. So I would just start running this Nerves program. Every time the Healy told me, we just kind of learned to just trust the Healy. We do these scans, it shows you what your most resonant programs are right now, and I would run that. I'd also, for about 10 years, I've been having issues with sciatica on my left side. It would flare up a couple times a week. I'd have to sit down and stretch and try to get that area to have some relief. And so I would run this program. Sometimes it would tell me this while I was actually having a flare up. Sometimes I wasn't having a flare up, but the Healy could see the imbalance. The Healy could see in my field, there was an imbalance there and that I needed these frequencies. So I would run that. And now if it's been 2 years, I've only had one flare up in 2 years, where I used to have once or twice a week. And it was when we were moving out of our house and just lifting and moving a lot of furniture, and it just caused a little flare up of sciatica, but that's the one time. It's really, really cool. Meridians 1, if you're familiar with acupuncture and these energy pathways in the body, we have 2 pages of those. We have those 7 energy centers called the chakras that we can do actual work with. Bioenergetic defense, bioenergetic support, bioenergetic vitalization is really cool. This is frequencies from things like stem cells and human growth hormone and all the things that can keep us younger. Okay, epigenetic harmonization, as you see down here, that's really cool. Deep Cycle is a really deep detox system of programs. Well-being, digital nutrition mixtures are like having the frequency information of different sets of vitamins, minerals, nutrients. For instance, if like you had a supplement maybe you take for the brain, these would be those vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that you'd use for that supplement in digital form. So you can send those frequencies through your body into the cells in a digital format. Power of 3, natural cycle, there's so many. And then expert programs, I did want to point this out. You can actually work with a time waiver therapist. And I don't have any of these, so I'm generally pretty healthy. But if you have a more serious issue, or you'd like to get a custom program where you talk with one of these time waiver therapists, they can make you a program, sell it to you for, I think it's $50 to $100 typically, maybe even $40. And they can download that to your Healy, and then you own it forever. It's on this page, and you can have, I think, up to 12 of those programs on this page. All right, so I'm going to leave this program now, this set, and go to, remember I said that was called the pink dot program. Now we're going to go to the blue dot program. Actually, no, let's really quick go over to the Heal Advisor. I just wanted to show you there's different app modules you can have, like that digital nutrition one that I showed you has its own app module where it can even create a grocery list for you. Bioenergetic vitalization also has a module that you can do a lot more than just run the frequencies. But this Heal Advisor search is really, really cool. Comes with every Healy, no matter if you have one of the lower priced ones or the higher priced ones. And this is where you can type in any issue. So let's put in pneumonia, PNEU. There we go, pneumonia. See, it brings up all sorts of stuff. And this is searching a time waiver database of therapists. So this is why we can do this, because this is going to a therapist database. And now it shows which programs on my Healy I would run if I had pneumonia, and how it would. It's not saying it's going to cure pneumonia, right? These are the programs that it's going to add energy so that it can, your body can then work on curing the pneumonia, right? This is going to harmonize your body or give your body what it needs to be able to do its work. Okay, so that's really cool. Let's go out of there now. Let's go to the fun one, the Blue Dot app, as we call it, Heal Advisor Analyze app. I'll just quickly show you how we can do some scans. So you can see there's such a thing as resonance analysis, coaching analysis, which is like life coaching. Our analysis is all frequency-based, very interesting. I'm just going to show you the resonance analysis, choosing myself as the client right here. It scans for the device. So I need to make sure the Healy's turned on so I can find it. Just double check the serial number in case it finds more than one of the Healys in our household. There it is. And it'll connect to the Healy. There it goes. And notice we're going to go to a database selection, but it's going to be scanning my field, my bioenergetic field, against these different databases to see what do I have the greatest resonance with. So here's the databases. Like I showed you in the other program, these ones that start with the word Healy are all these program groups I showed you in the pink app. Okay, deep cycle, digital nutrition, mental balance, skin, sleep. You can see all those. But there's extra ones too. There's I Ching, which is traditional Chinese medicine, Schussler salts or cell salts, vital substances, or things like amino acids and proteins. Maybe you've heard of Bach flower remedies or homeopathics. We can do these types of frequencies and do them in a vibrational format. I'll show you that in a second too, but what I'm going to do is kind of what I do for my daily method of operation. I like to use this all Healy programs, and that's going to be scanning for all these ones that say Healy, all the ones that could be in your Healy edition, and it'll just tell us the top program groups. So I touch the screen where that little thumbprint symbol is. It's not actually reading my thumbprint. It's just an area of focus to say I'm ready for the Healy to scan my field. And you'll see it's saying that those gold cycle programs are most resonant with me right now. And then one's called the Healy Watch programs, and then Healy Watch digital nutrition programs, chakras, and meridians. So we could take any of these, and but I typically go with the number one. 67% is a pretty high number. They're typically mostly between the 40s to the 60s, but sometimes we'll see them in the 70s and the 80s, and then you got something really, really important in there. But in my case, I know this is the most important, the gold cycle. So then I would do another scan within that. Go back to myself as the client, find the Healy Gold cycle. It says there's 7 programs in that group, but when we do these scans, it always brings up the top 5 that are most resonant. So the gold cycle is the number 1 program group for me, and the Gold Cycle Pure program, which is what I actually showed you earlier, is the most important program in that program group for me. So I typically would write down these first few, there's 6 or 5 here, sorry. Write down, and maybe I do a scan in that second set, or and I would write down and have maybe 5 or 6 or 7 different programs. And through the day, either with the wires or the coil, I would try to run those programs. Or I like to do the scan each day and then focus on those for a day. My wife likes to do a scan once a week and then focus on, maybe she'll write down all 5 in all 5 groups and just focus on all those for the whole week. So there's a lot of ways you could choose to do this. But it's another thing we can do is what's called vibrational frequencies. I can go actions. Oh wait, before I say that, what I would typically do then is go over to the other app and run this program. It's my most important one for the day with the wires. Maybe after it completes, I run it again with the coil. And then maybe I'd run this one with the coil. And then I'd run it again with the wires because you want to put a couple hours of space in between using the wires and so on. But we can also do actions, vibrate, choose a time period. Minute 20 is the default. I'll just drop it down just for the demonstration here, 37 seconds, and explain what's going on. So it's using all 5 of these programs, pure balance being energy, whatever the 5th one was after pure here. And here it is right here, care. And it is scanning my field. When you see the blue wavy line, that's always the Healy scanning my field with the quantum sensor and determining which frequencies I need. The pink wavy line means there's information being sent into my field. So it's important to understand it's doing both. And it's the same thing when you're running in the pink dot program. When you're running the actual pure program, it is scanning your field to see which of the frequencies in that set are most important for you, so you get the best bang for your buck, I guess, the best application you could possibly have. So that's the idea, but again, we could do that in all those different categories there, even in, Alaskan gem elixirs, Australian bushflowers, there's all these different databases. Those we could only do vibrationally like we just did, and those are, Cheryl kind of mentioned, we could even do these remotely. When you put someone in as a client, you get a lot of information, and this is where it gets into the quantum physics that I don't understand very well, but it's called quantum entanglement. There's a relation between everything on the earth and in the universe, and it can link up kind of like a radio signal, and we can actually send frequencies vibrationally to someone even on a different part of the country or different part of the world. It's pretty amazing. And I was very skeptical of that first, but I've been doing it with people and it works and I get results, and it's really cool. All right, so now we're going to leave here, and I'm going to quickly stop sharing the screen there so I can share my computer screen. And let me make sure I have the document up I need. It's right there. Okay, so I'm going to share. Oops, I lost the Zoom meeting now. Go back here, share screen, share that. And we're going to go right here so I can explain to you how you get a Healy, what they cost, the different editions and pricing. So they have 5 different versions of the Healy, and we call them editions. They're at 5 different price points, and the hardware is the same for every edition. And you have, each edition may have fewer or more program groups or app modules. You can start with a lower edition if you need to and upgrade to a higher one later without having to get a new Healy, okay? Because the hardware is the same with every edition. You're just getting an upgrade to the software or the program groups you have access to. When you purchase the Healy, you do get all the stuff you need to use your Healy, but they also give you a 14-day money-back guarantee from the day you receive your Healy, so you can try it, use it. If you decide it's not for you, which is extremely rare, you can request a full refund and just return the Healy. All right. Next, this is just showing all the different microcurrent programs, each category and how many programs there are in each, and all the different app modules. As you can see, some of them have program groups, actual microcurrent frequency programs. We were playing with the search module a little bit. I typed in pneumonia. We were playing with the resonance module. You saw that we had the aura and the success coach. Digital nutrition was a module I showed you, and there's just a lot of different things that you could have depending on which Healy you have. So the first edition, our lowest priced edition, is called Healy Gold. It's about $500, as you see here. But it just has 11 programs, that gold cycle set, which was coming up as most resonant with me right now. The bioenergetic support, which has just 2 programs in it. Bioenergetic boost was released during COVID as an immune system booster. Coherence is just an extremely popular one that just seems to balance out everything. more like the energy between the head and the heart in this case. The pain and stimulation is chronic pain, pain locally. These are those 2 FDA cleared programs. At the far extreme, the Healy Professional has hundreds of programs and 6 app modules, all the ones that we were showing you. but it's more like $4,000. Except that right now there's some really cool promotions. So you'll see that it's not nearly that expensive if you're interested in getting one of the top of the line Healys here. So here are the different editions at normal pricing. When you go from gold to holistic, it's going from about 500 to 1,000, but you're adding a bunch more program groups. These two editions, though, you're really only using that pink dot program where you just select a program and run it, but you also do have that Healy Advisor search. So you could type in an issue you're having and give you a list of the programs from your Healy here. These, for instance, holistic would have 63 different programs. Tell you which ones you should run for your issue. If you go to resonance, though, at 1,500, you add these program groups, and now in the dark is the actual app modules. That's where you can do the scanning we did in that blue app, where you can scan your field to see which frequencies are most important. So most people want that. So I really do suggest trying to start with the resonance or higher if you can. Resonance Plus then will add 2 more app modules and 3 more program sets. Professional adds 3 more program sets and 2 more app modules. It's quite a bit that you get with the professional. And so for the month of August here, they have made all the editions except for the gold are 50% off. So that's pretty cool. Call it the summer splash promotion or something like that. So if you wanted to start with at least resonance, instead of it being $1,515, it's just $757. If you wanted to go all the way with the professional, which I highly recommend when you can get it at this kind of a price, instead of $4,000, it's $2,020.50. If you do want the coil, which I also highly recommend, it's so convenient and so cool, $224.50 to add the coil as an accessory. And this, by the way, if you do work with pets and animals, this is a very convenient way to do it with pets rather than trying to get wires. We do have a kit where you can actually run wires and microcurrent to an animal. But a lot of people say, well, I just use the coil. It works amazing with the animals. Lastly, we are a business opportunity if you want, completely optional. Doesn't cost anything, though, if you want to be a member. And then you earn commissions for referring others to Healy, and you can even earn a free Healy device. So you have some time periods and some certain goals you have to meet, but it is worth it. When I first heard about this from my sponsor, Dr. Corrine Allen, she's a naturopathic physician out in Idaho. And she called me up, told me about this. I did not know anything about frequencies, didn't know about energy medicine, but we trusted her and have used her as our go-to person when we have medical questions, because we've avoided traditional medicine and tried to go more alternative our whole life. And she just told me about the Healy. We bought one sight unseen, but it took 5 weeks to get to us because this was right when it had first been released in the United States. And it was also the beginning of COVID. I mean, it was May, so not the very beginning, but it was during COVID, supply chains, all that stuff. It took 5 weeks to get it, but I just started sharing this information, and people love this concept. Many people I've never realized already understood the concept of frequencies and energy. And they were just like, wow, yes, this Healy's so cool. So before I even got my Healy, 5 weeks, I had sold 14 of these Healys just from sharing the information with people and letting them take a look at it. Made a full-time income day one. Both my wife and I have now quit our jobs. We live in an RV. This is my office in my RV. And we travel around the country, and I do this pretty much online and build a business and having a blast sharing Healy. The goal of Healy is that 100 million people would own a Healy in the next 10 years. And can you imagine what kind of an impact that will make on the world? If you have 100 million people and families using a Healy to impact their health, their emotional health, their mental health, physical health, it's going to make a big difference. And if you want, you can be part of that and build a business. I truly believe this is unlimited income potential. And if you kind of have a sour feeling towards network marketing, I understand. I kind of do too, even though it's the way I make my full-time business. But I think this is something special and something very unique with a product that nobody else has out there. So hope you'll even consider that. So Ray, do we have any questions or anything that we need to try to answer for the whole group here? Or are we about ready to wrap it up?
I think we're about ready to wrap it up. I've addressed the couple of questions that have been in the chat, and I haven't seen any more since. So it looks like we've done a good job.
Okay, there's 2 things I just remembered. I should remind people. When you want to purchase a Healy, you do need to get back with the person that told you about Healy, because you want to be linked up to them so they get credit for that. And you can either just pay with a credit card, or we do have here in the United States, at least, we have something called Klarna, which is a financing company. So if you need to spread out payments over time, you can apply for that. It happens immediately, where you can find out if you're approved or not to do a financing with Klarna when you check out of the Healy shop. So that's one thing. The other is, yes, please, if you have interest, if you have questions, just get back to the person that shared about Healy with you, and that'd be great. Cheryl or Ray, do you have anything else you wanted to say? Are we good to go?
I think we're good to go. We had one last question here about the coil. Do you need to purchase the coil separately? And the answer is yes.
Yes, and I'll tell you what I typically, can't think of the word right now, but I usually tell people they should do is obviously buy the professional if you can afford it, or the highest one that you can afford is going to have more apps for you, and then get the coil. And then I usually say get an extra one of these wires, so you have one on hand, because they do get damaged eventually, and then you can't run microcurrent until you have a new one. So just get one that you have one on hand. And then there's a really cool travel case. I don't have it in my office right now, but it's awesome. It zips up and you can put your Healy and your wires and everything in one little spot. And so you can that's the 4 things I usually recommend people get. And then you move forward. So hopefully we'll have some of you join us. And again, if you want to build a business with us, we have all sorts of training and support. We're not going to leave you hanging. You're going to get whatever you need to build a business and have some success with Healy. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Good night, all.